Cybernation Uncensored.
Timers goes off and I'm ready to roll. So hello everyone, welcome to another installment of Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I am your host Cybersmily.
I am your co-host Wisdom from Datafortress2020. Greetings, programs. We have some good stuff for you today.
I think
we
so.
will for the first half of the show we'll be talking about the latest developments in the Cyberpunk franchise, as well as the genre as a whole. And then in the second half, we've got a special guest, right, Will?
Yes, we hopefully will be getting Jay Gray, who's going to be joining us. Again, Jay will answer what he can answer, and will not answer what he doesn't, what he can't divulge. So let's see what we can squeeze out of him. Tonight,
but it's always good to have him back on the show. We love repeat guests.
Exactly, and now that the pre-order for the edgerunners the pre-order for the edgerunner mission kit has been done. I've already got my pre-order in, so go check that out. I think a lot of people are asking about it because you definitely want to have a copy of it. Because I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to ask him some questions to see if he can divulge some of the stuff that might have changed from the demo from Gen Con last year. If there's been any changes to it, any tweaks, and if he's willing to give some insight in what those tweaks are. Would love to hear about that.
And this marks... we'll mention it later, but this marks the first 2077 official source book from Artal Saurian. So it's exciting. Granted, it's more based off the anime than the video game, but I mean, at this point, the two are inseparable.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully we can try to wring him out of some of that. But before we get to the wonderful world of Cyberpunk 2077, Cyberpunk Red, and that whole universe, I did catch a movie called The Kitchen on Netflix a couple weeks ago, and the background is very cyberpunk. However, the story really didn't have too much cyberpunk in it. The main story is there's a district in a dystopian future that is kind of isolated and fending for themselves. It reminded me a lot of like how the combat zone would be set up, in which there's a lot of bartering going on and people trying to eke out the life there. Some are, going into a normal job to make ends meet, while others are just working to overthrow the corporations and the stranglehold that they have on it. It was a very slow movie. I don't think it was the best cyberpunk, but it's definitely a good watch. No, it's not necessarily a nod to Hell's Kitchen. It was just, like I said, I mean, if you want spoilers, it centers around a kid whose mother died, and two people enter his life. One is a gang member or a gang leader who kind of takes him into a gang, and then the other person is a guy who's trying to just get out of the combat zone and working a regular job. And you come to find, well, throughout the whole story, you're not sure why the main, besides the kid, why the main adult character is taking care of the kid, right? And the kid constantly asks him, "Are you my dad? Are you my dad?" It takes the whole movie to finally get the guy to give an answer. And I'm not going to spoil what the answer is, but it's there's a little bit of action, but it's definitely not an action movie. It's a very dramatic movie that I would say is kind of on par to the tempo or the speed of like Gattaca.
No.
Right? So it's very slow, very...
I mean,
Come
that's
on,
okay.
get on with it, yeah.
Hell,
Exactly.
was horribly slow as well, so...
Yeah, so...
some stories just don't require the action.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think this could have been done in any genre. And I don't see the correlation of why it had to be necessarily in a dystopian future. I mean, that was my interpretation, but I could be wrong. Everyone, views art differently, so.
I'm cool with that. I like, for me, it's, atmosphere is as important as anything else. So, if people want to make a drama in Cyberpunk, in a Cyberpunk type setting, that's cool by me. Like, that doesn't invalidate its inclusion in the genre. Not everything has to be action. Not everything has to be like net running and all that. Sometimes the focus is just on the human interaction.
Yes. Still on my list is Atlas. That's another movie that's out.
I'm trying. I'm about halfway through it.
Oh, really? It's not that good?
It's for a movie where she's running around in a giant robot. It's just slow, and I don't know. She's not ever like I'm halfway through, and she's not ever part of anything that's happening. She's just kind of like an observer to it all. Like, right. She's there in the middle of it, but she's not doing anything.
Got it.
And she's constantly fighting even the concept of doing anything. And I get it. If you, the story so far is actually pretty interesting to me. It's not great, but it's interesting. The scenes that took place on Earth before all the space giant robots and other planet stuff are cool. Like, visually, they're very cool. And it's cyberpunk adjacent in the same way that, like, Contact was. That Jodie Foster movie based off the Carl Sagan novel.
Right.
Where the things in the background are all cyberpunk, but the actual story is not. If that makes any sense. I meant to have it watched before this episode of Forlorn Dopes, but I couldn't stay awake any longer. I'd been up all day when I started watching it, and I don't know, constant close-ups of Jennifer Lopez, and just she's okay. She's done some stuff I enjoyed, but I don't know. I spent half the time I was watching the screen wondering how her hair stays like that, if that makes any sense.
Makeup artist, that's how.
I mean, in story, like, it just constantly looks like there's a rat living in it.
Well, the other thing that came out is Furiosa, which I have yet to get to the theaters to see, but it's only time.
I was gonna go see it. Opening weekend, but then last week we had like 7 tornadoes touched down in my town.
Ouch.
And left most of the town without power, including the movie theater.
Yeah.
So I think even now they're struggling to get the power back on. I think they finally got it normalized, so I'm hoping to see it. If not this weekend, then Monday at like a matinee show, because it looks fantastic. Like I'm a sucker for Mad Max. I'm a sucker for Mad Max ripoffs. I'm a sucker for anything in that like post-apocalyptic, like car chase genre. Battle truck, Wheels of Fire, any of that stuff. I'm just there for it. And George Miller doing this, it works for me.
Right.
There's also a series on I want to say Prime called The Jungle that looks pretty fantastic.
The Jungle, you say?
Yeah, our buddy Joe Clack pointed it out to us. That is as soon as I finish watching Atlas, that's next on my list.
Yeah, the thing that I want to watch is a thing from Brazil called Bionicos, yeah, or Bionic. Luckily, it's English dubbed, so you don't have to know Portuguese to watch it or read subtitles. It's on Netflix. If you go check out the trailer, it looks very cyberpunk. Like, you know, guys putting on like a Soviet, was it this Soviet cyberware from Chrome 3?
Nice. Oversized and clunky, but kick coal in tank.
Exactly. From what I've seen is basically it's kind of like cybernetics getting into sports, but
oh, okay.
it looks like the person, you know, I guess gets kicked out of the Olympics and then becomes a life of crime. So
I mean, that works for me.
It definitely has a very Cyberpunk 2020, Cyberpunk Red vibe as well. So that's on Netflix.
I mean, saying the magic words, so Jesus, yeah. And you know, Brazil has put out some quality product in the kind of cyberpunk vein. Like City of Men was fantastic.
Well, they also did a series called 3%, which was kind of a dystopian future.
I like seeing other countries' takes on it. Usually we only see what comes out of the US, UK, and Japan, or Asia, I should say, in the genre. But seeing some of the more recent entries from other countries like Brazil or Russia or France, they put quality stuff out there. Even with the lower budget, like they make use of what they have. You might sometimes have to forgive some bad CG, but I mean, I'll do that for a blockbuster, in no sense not doing it for a movie that I know is going to be lower budget, lower resources.
Yeah. Speaking of lower budget, one of the people on my servers, Grebo, aka Mr. Wright,
Benjamin.
Yeah, he shared a link to a, I guess, I mean, it looked like a very, very independent movie called Binary Samurai. That was supposed to be very,
talking about that.
it was supposed to be cyberpunkish. Yeah, I couldn't get past one scene. I think I got in 15, 20 minutes into the movie, and I was like, nope, definitely not for me. It's
Yeah,
not
there's
that it's, any gratuitous sex scenes or any of that. It's just, I think it was a passion project of the writer director and AKA star of it. So I think it might. I mean, to me, it seemed like a kind of student. Well, it seemed like a student movie, But yeah, they started. So the premise is there's like these nodes throughout the world. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic, and people are trying to, AKA net run into these nodes to kind of control it. Those who control the nodes control the world, right? But their net running was like, I don't know, this interpretive dance, Tai Chi, kind of like moving for like, I mean, it went on way too long. Like at least more than 3 minutes of just seeing a guy just, move like that and being like, okay, what's the point here?
I
And of course, he's
art.
shirtless,
I
and
love
he
going
shouldn't
to
be shirtless. Let's just say that for an actor.
I love art. I love going to museums, but God, do I hate interpretive dance. I hate it so fucking much.
Yeah, so
Um,
if you can, I don't know, put different music on in the background, or if you're one of those people who can play a game and kind of like look at it while it's playing, maybe you can get through it. Maybe there's a good story afterwards.
maybe somewhere in all that. I mean, I've seen some ridiculously low budget movies that still manage to pull off, moments. I can't even remember the title, but I found this video in the 90s, and it I don't think it was Liquid Sky, but it had a title that sounded kind of like it. And the movie itself was so low budget it was almost unwatchable. But they had AVs in it, like literal like flying cars that landed and took off via vertical thrust. And you could tell it was just like little miniatures on wires, but it looked cool, and it was as low budget as it was done well. The rest of it was just really bad acting in dimly lit, like lit by neon sets. But I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
And you know me, I love low budget films anyway. Like there's some of my favorite movies in the genre. Like Nemesis is low budget. It's at the higher end of low budget. Like
Yeah.
it and Circuitry Man, Cherry 2000.
But I'm talking like, Toxic Avenger,
But yeah,
Surf Nazis Must Die,
I mean,
that low
trauma
budget.
films are solid entertainment. I can't. My love for trauma is boundless. At least in the early days. After around Toxic Avenger 2, when they started getting popular, they stopped being cool to me. They just like they got too much money. Everything was too clean.
Right.
Like
the
early days of Trauma were where it's at. When it was all dirty and underground and just him grabbing people off the street basically and saying, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" Right. Somehow he got better performances than he would get later. But that's neither here nor there. Like I would say the Trauma, like Toxic Avenger and stuff, that's at the mid-range of low-budget movies. And then you start getting into like the Z-list movies. And Prime has just a shitload of these.
What would you classify like Class of Nukem High?
Class of Nukem High. That's one of those mid-range B
Yeah.
movies. That's I mean that's a trauma film. That was put out at the same time, or roughly the same time as the original Toxic Avenger. Yeah. I mean, really, budget-wise, there's not a whole lot of difference, or performance-wise, not budget-wise, but performance-wise, there's not really a whole lot of difference between something like Toxic Avenger and Circuitry Man, or you know, any of those movies. Like they're about the same level. Nemesis comes in a little bit higher, and then you've got, I don't know, you've got like Johnny Mnemonic, which was a big movie. It played in theaters, but it wasn't Blade Runner. It wasn't that kind of quality or budget. So, I mean, there's all sorts of tiers, but like nowadays, they'll just, because of green screening and super cheap CGI, everybody makes their own movies.
Yeah.
I mentioned that guy Neil Breen. That dude's got like 70 movies that he makes them himself, stars in them himself, and I don't know. It is. Imagine if the guy from The Room, who made The Room, made like 70 movies. And they just keep getting like lower budget every time, to the point that it's now just literally from start to finish, it's him in front of a green screen. So there is a whole gamut of movies to choose from. I'm getting so off topic, but a lot of the stuff you can find on Prime falls into that lower tier of just Jesus. Like, even if there's a good idea in there somewhere, you're gonna have to really dig through some garbage to get to it.
I think Netflix has some of that, but you have to do a little digging to see the craptacular stuff.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm talking about the stuff I'm seeing on Prime is like a whole different level. It's
true.
Like shot on video stuff that was made this year that would have been embarrassing CGI in the 90s. It would have made Captain Power look like, Jurassic Park.
Got it. But yeah, I don't see anything else that kind of excites me. I mean, the only thing that excites me is that Bionic. Definitely something that I want to check out. I want to say I saw something else that was coming out new.
I very much am excited about checking out The Jungle. It's been a while since we've had a good, solid cyberpunk anime that didn't skew too far in one direction or the other. Like, Edgerunners was great, don't get me wrong, but it gets kind of silly.
Yeah. And Ani Lux reminds us that Blade Runner series is coming soon.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. Like, just thinking about that makes my body do things that I don't want it to do.
Now that your age.
Yeah, my age, it's dangerous. I don't want to be sitting out there running around in a trench coat on. No, it just gets silly. I'm so very excited about the anime for Blade Runner 2099. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And Michelle Yeoh headlining it, that's just the icing on the cake.
Well, I mean, Michelle's doing some awesome things she's been doing lately, and then there's some things that were meh.
I mean, if you look at her career, though, it's for a female action. She started out as a female action film star. And she has transcended that on so many levels. And for someone to come out of China and do that, that's a woman, that's unprecedented at her level. Like she is breaking through ceilings left and right.
Very true. Oh, there was another series that I also wanted to check out that's an anime, Pluto.
I've seen that. I haven't done any digging.
Yeah. So that looks kind of interesting. I'm not sure how cyberpunk it is. I know there's something to do with robots and AI kind of evolving.
I got tricked into watching Scavenger's Reign.
You didn't like it?
I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but I thought it would be like Cyberpunk or at least Cyberpunk adjacent. It is not. It's not Cyberpunk in the slightest. There's nothing Cyberpunk about it at all. It is, in fact, the weirdest thing I've ever watched.
Yes, it
is
sci-fi, definitely.
If you took Empire, it's like Empire Strikes Back. At least the Luke scenes of Empire Strikes Back when he's on Dagobah. If that was written by William S. Burroughs,
yeah,
that would. I mean, a typewriter turning into a bug and a dude fucking it would not be out of place in Scavenger's Reign. I'm just gonna say that. Like it wouldn't even bat an eye. It is the weirdest thing I've ever watched. That still had a coherent script. I mean, I've watched some weird shit, like Tetsuo the Iron Man is weird shit. But this had a coherent story that moved along and was just bizarre from one moment to the next. Okay, there was a show a while back on Adult Swim called Super Jail. And this is like, it very much reminded me of Super Jail if Super Jail were done seriously, if it wasn't done for comedic effect.
Right.
It's that
it is
level
worth
of
watching. It's definitely worth watching.
But
yes,
it's really worth watching.
So there's no spoilers in that saying that it's basically a crew on a spaceship has to eject through escape pods. Yeah, and they get removed on a planet, and the planet's ecosystem is just crazy.
Yeah, it's everything's nuts. And the only complaint, or it's not even a complaint, the only criticism I have is that it doesn't seem like they've been on the planet all that long when the show actually introduces us to these characters. But somehow they've managed to figure out all these weird effects of all the alien life and the plant life to the point that they're using it as tools in ways that, like, you would think it would take years to learn that shit.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like they were there for a few months before.
Sure, but I mean, I would think it would take that long just to figure out what you can eat that doesn't kill you immediately.
Especially that planet.
Yeah.
What you can eat that, won't kill you or eat you.
Yeah, it's fucked up in a lot of ways, and they take Alien to the next level. Like, everything is Alien. If it looks familiar, the more familiar it looks to you, it's the more danger you should be ready for. Check out Scavenger's Reign.
And one of the production companies that was involved was Birdhouse, so I think that's why you get that Adult Swim vibe from it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the same company that did.
Birdhouse did, I think, 90, if not all of Adult Swim, 90% or all of it, or were involved in some way.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, that show, I was like, I gotta watch. I watched the first episode, and I'm like, I gotta finish this before I move on to Bionic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt. Like we binge watched it in like 2 nights. It's a much longer series than I would have thought it would be.
And at the end, it kind of opens up a sequel, so there might be another season.
Yeah, but with as weird as it is, like there can either be a sequel or there won't be a sequel, and it doesn't. Like I want to see a sequel, but at the same time, I don't know how it can possibly get any crazier.
Well, if you remember at the end, there was like one crazy scene that I'm like, who the hell are these people?
Oh yeah, no, it's super crazy. Like the end doesn't relent on the crazy. It just leaves you staring at it like, do I really want to see how crazy this can get at this point?
Yeah, and we don't want to give you guys spoilers, so hopefully we enticed you to go and check it out. Yeah, so again, I haven't seen too many other new things that came across my path to mention other than Bionic, which I think is definitely a must-see just from the trailers I've seen.
There's a new comic series I'm wanting to check out called Death Ratioed, which is at least going to be cyberpunk adjacent. It's very tied into like your fate being tied into your social media. I haven't read it yet, so I can't give you much more than that, but it looks fairly good. There's a new Bloodshot series from Valiant. It's been fairly decent. I mean, Bloodshot is about as low rent cyberpunk as you can get. It's a dude filled with nanites. It's been around since the 90s, and like this will be like its 6th or 7th different form it's taking, because Valiant Comics will print for a while, go out of business, get rebooted, print for a while, go out of business, go back to the old Valiant, print for a while, and switch hands. Valiant's they've got a weird publishing history, the Valiant heroes. And most of their heroes are like from old Charlton comics in the 50s and 60s. Or most of their characters, I should
say.
Yeah. Let's see, what else?
Shall we get into specific Cyberpunk Red 2077 stuff?
Yes, we can. Right. I also just wanted to mention the Expanse comic Dragon's Tooth. That's finally closed out with its 12th issue. It is a fantastic follow-up to the series. Just if you were into the Expanse, you should definitely check it out. It continues to follow the through of the Rocinante.
Cool.
But yeah, we can move on. There is some exciting news in the world of the actual franchise. The board game is
so those who don't know, there is a planned Cyberpunk 2077 the board game by Game on Board. It's a Polish company. They are going to be doing not a Kickstarter, but there's another site called gamefound.com, which seems to also do kind of crowdfunding type of work. We'll type that into chat. And it looks like they've gone beyond their prototype. They have it looks like a kind of a finished product from their latest update, which is update 6, in which they do a gameplay. It looks pretty complicated.
It looks. It's on the upper end of complicated for a board game. For what seems, looking at it from above, it seems like it'd be a simple skirmish board game.
Yeah.
But there's just a whole lot to it. There's lots of fiddly bits, to the point that they've developed an app to help you play it.
I have yet to watch the full gameplay. I've kind of seen like the overview of the game, and it looks like it's a cooperative gameplay in which you play one of the 4 characters from the Cyberpunk 2077 game. So you can play V, Jackie, Judy, or Pan Am. Funny that they don't have River and Carrie, but
there'll be expansions.
Oh,
you know,
you can only hope.
I'm personally, I would have rather they just went with faceless characters. I've reached the point where the oversaturation of lore characters is actually kind of starting to annoy me.
Yeah, I think the wants of, and sure, you had that with like, you know, Star Wars and playing Star Wars or any of the IPs that kind of had characters. And Cyberpunk is a little different, right? Yeah.
Characters like Cyberpunk is based on a tabletop role-playing game where everybody plays their own characters.
Exactly.
And I get it. With the video game, you play your character. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. The lack of any kind of online support for Cyberpunk 2077 is, in my opinion, its biggest downfall. If you take, in this day and age, if you're going to base a game off of a tabletop role-playing game and you don't include the ability to play it with your friends, you're missing the whole point. Like that is, and I'm talking about something beyond, like cooperatively play with your friends.
Did the new Baldur's Gate allow that or no?
Yes.
The new Baldur's Gate allows you to do multiplayer?
Games,
I know the old
from
version.
What I understand. I haven't played it yet, but yeah.
That's good.
From everything I understand, Baldur's Gate allows you to play with friends. Cooperatively. I know the problems with adding an online portion stem from, in a lot of ways, the game being first-person perspective, because they didn't bother to animate
the main character,
the actual character movements for the main character.
They made you look nice, which is the various clothes, but
right, but you only ever see that when you're looking at your wardrobe or in a few cutscenes. It's like when you look down at your shadow in Cyberpunk 2077 and like, wow, that looks weird. Like, those movements aren't matching what's happening at all.
Well, there's a team who's been doing a mod in which they're trying to get that multiplayer going, and yeah, the characters' bodies are just crazy.
Yeah, and that's the problem with a first-person perspective game. In online is when you first-person perspective, you always look really weird when you move around to other people, because your head just does these weird. Your head and your body, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And it's like you move. Everything's really robotic when you move.
Right. Because it's not get too far down this trail, because I know there's a couple things. One more thing that I'd like to talk about before Jay joins us. Again, apologies, everyone. Jay had a prior engagement. He will be here in about, hopefully in the next half hour, if not less. He'll be joining us. But don't worry, as far as I understand, he is coming. Maybe I should check my emails to confirm that. But I know he is going to be joining us, and it would be very nice to have him back. But the other thing in the whole Cyberpunk universe edition is the Kickstarter for Monster Fight Club's vehicle combat. So they just dropped a Kickstarter, which the minis look awesome. However, my problem with this is too soon. Right? So last month they just put out the collectors or the edgerunners edition pre-sale, and you know, that was the non-collectible was 140 something, maybe somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And the collectible was 250.
I've finally given up on even the dream of owning all the Cyberpunk merchandise.
Oh yeah, you can't compete with 2077 stuff just because of all the models and all the little things that.
Yeah, and third-party companies putting out stuff.
You got to be independently wealthy to become a full collector.
Yeah, and it's most of it's so ridiculously overpriced that it's just not feasible. But then you get into actual game materials itself. Like I couldn't afford the base board game. Oh my god, I want this stuff so bad. It's like looking at this stuff, and the vehicles update looks fantastic. But looking at it, I'll say this again in the future, but it's like being a kid, and if you're as old as I am, you remember what it was like when you would get the Sears Wish catalog.
Or the JCPenney's.
As a kid, yeah, you'd open up that toy section, and it'd be like 30 pages of fucking toys that you were never ever going to see in real life. It was the coolest shit you could possibly imagine.
And you're the generation of Kenner and the Star Wars action figures.
Oh yeah, and you're just looking at it and wishing and wishing and wishing. And that's how it feels. Like these toys will never be mine, but man, they're cool. Yeah, I want that. I want that G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
I didn't even get into G.I. Joe. I was in Star Wars. I mean, I had one guy.
I got into it all. Star Wars, G.I. Joe. Hell, I got into Fisher Price Adventure People.
I was into that first, yeah.
If it was a 3/4 inch action figure, I was generally into it.
But yeah, so this latest Kickstarter from Monster Fight Club, you have 4 different pledge levels. You have the veteran pilot, which gets you the AV miniature, 4 minis of guys on bikes, and then the rule book. What's that?
The minis, like the AV mini is huge, and the bikes are badass. I'm kind of disappointed that we're not seeing any cars or vans or trucks or anything like that.
I'm sure that's on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm sure too. What I'd really like to see is like a punk knot. Or just like an armored bus, like some maelstrom tricked out piece of shit, spikes all over it.
Now that's an interesting concept to present to them. And that, I think, would require some different rules to build out a punk knot, right? Because, I mean, Combat Zone is basically gang against gang. And...
yeah, that's the whole concept of it.
Fighting a punk knot would be interesting.
I mean, if one team can have an AV, surely the other team could have a punk knot.
Yeah, but that would require a lot of thinking of, like, game balance. Being able to build out a punk knot, right? you would have to have a set of different cards that you would add
See,
different weapons and speeds and other effects that you can add to your punk knob
yeah,
as you build it out.
but you're making the argument from the board game's point of view. I'm making the argument I want a miniature of a punk knob.
I see.
Now, not to give anything away, but hopefully with the next episode, we'll be able to get some more information on what's happening with Monster Fight Club and Cyberpunk Combat Zone board game.
Yeah, we're working on doing an interview with the guys from there too.
Yeah.
But so there's like I said, there's the veteran pilot, so that comes in at 160 US. So you get a AV mini and 4 bike minis and a rule book. I was looking at the price and I'm like, comparing to like 40K stuff, kind of on par, maybe a little too more expensive. But I believe Monster Fight Club is actually US based, so, and I think they do their miniatures in the US. So I think that the price tag is probably comparable. The next pledge level, which is the same price, however, you don't get the AV. You get the base set plus the 4 motorbike minis. The next level up is Born to Fly, which is $390. You get the AV, the 4 bikes, plus an additional 6 bikes, plus an additional 2 bikes with sidecars, which looks very... The ones that are being added look very Nomad esque. And then you also get a squad of Max Tax as a new faction that you can play, as well as a map with 4 cargo containers.
I mean, all that sounds cool. It's not $200 extra cool, I'll tell you that.
Well, price-wise, you are saving. So I was doing the retail price, right? So they have the Kickstarter price for these minis as add-ons versus their retail price, which they're eventually going to get to. The first level set, you're saving... from the Kickstarter price, you're saving around $20 or up to $60, right? If you wait until retail. The $390 is, you're saving almost $100, if not more, with the cost. So, but again, looking at these minis, for retail, the cycle set is two cycles, right, with riders, and they're going for $35 as a Kickstarter price. They bump up to 50 or 40 on retail, so that's $20 to $25 a mini.
That's insane to me. That's just insane to me. The cost of minis is ridiculous.
But again, if you look at 40K, 40K is a little cheaper with units on bikes. However, the AV, the Kickstarter price is $100. It's going to retail for $120, which is definitely expensive compared to 40K minis. And then you get the rule book, which the rule book is probably anywhere from $20 to $25 cost. So the Kickstarter, you're saving.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying it's so ridiculously high that.
I mean, we're from a generation where minis used to cost $1.25, I think. Bigger minis were like $2 or $3. But yeah, this day and age is.
And they were made of metal.
And they were made of metal, yeah, true. But lead. So take that as you will.
it may make us dumber in the long run, get a little brain damage, lead poisoning, but they look cool.
True. The final pledge is $1,500, but the final pledge, you actually, and there's only 10 available, they will take an image of your head and put it on a mini, which is going to be. I say it's part of the game, but I don't know if it's part of like everyone's game or if it's just you get your own mini.
I don't know. I don't like my face enough to put it on a miniature. Yeah, no, I've never tried to put my face on a character image or any of that. It's just like, I don't know. That doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. I see there are many people who would, but personally, no. I can live without that.
Right. So, overall, I mean, from a critique point of view of this, I think it's a little more expensive than I would have liked. Monster Fight Club does produce awesome miniatures. I have all of my collection right in front of me because I still need to prime them.
I mean, they put out beautiful miniatures.
Yeah.
Even plastic, like they're highly detailed, well sculpted. They look fantastic, painted or unpainted. Which is weird, like considering, like I don't know how many of you were familiar with them before they got the Cyberpunk license, but before they got the Cyberpunk license, they were best known for like cheesecake miniatures, like half naked girls in various poses. Like that was their bread and butter. But now, like they have stepped up to the plate and are really one of the finest miniature makers out there. If I had to state that out loud, I will.
I would say these are better detail than Warhammer 40k.
Oh, by far.
But again, you know, it's just like, because 40k is overpriced. Period. You know.
Yeah, and as far as detail goes, like Warhammer has got its very own aesthetic. It's a very, like, it's brutal, but it's also very cartoony, I think. Like everything's oversized and it just, in my opinion, it looks a little goofy.
Yeah. I mean, from my point of view with this, I mean, from retail, yes, it's well worth the money to support this, because you're going to be spending quite a bit more afterwards, right? So
yeah,
you're
if you're in a position where you
220, so you're spending 220 just on the miniatures for the 160 level. If you have to wait until retail, and that's just the miniatures, and it comes with a book. So
yeah, like a color hardback book.
So you are saving anywhere from like $60 to $80 from retail, and the 390 level is, you are saving money, but you know, $400, man, it's a tough sell.
I mean it's a very tough sell. But if you're one of the completionists, like especially if you're into minis, it's the deal for you. Like get it now on a Kickstarter.
But like I said, you know, last month it was the $250, and now you got another $400, and you know, I don't know.
Dude, you're talking to me. I can't afford any of it, so I'm just gonna yap, and I'm just glad that the franchise is getting support.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Like, yes, hands down, love that. You know, there is this much product being put out for it. But hold on, I got a question from Joe.
Say what? What happened?
Bleh, what am I thinking? Yeah, so I'm sorry, I lost train. Jay just pinged me, so I was just replying to him. Sorry about that. But yeah, just
No worries.
but yeah, so somebody who can afford to drop a couple bills every month. No, you know. Let me hold on. Create invite. Right. All right. Slowly, we're getting Jay to come on.
Yeah, normally we'd have all this stuff taken care of before the show starts.
Let's just. I could have sworn I already had him set up, but let me. I might have to do some technical.
It's Discord. There've been about a dozen updates since.
Yeah. Where is my channel's membership so I can confirm he is on and make sure he is set properly. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Let me get him. So just join. Let me get him onto.
I'm useless at this aspect,
yeah,
so just.
He's a corporate exec. Forlorn. All right. Let's see. As we coordinate.
Yeah, it's weird because other of our previous guests have just been able to
saying
jump right
he
in.
is the voice, which is odd. Hold on, let me check. Is he chatting in voice? Let me see what I can do.
Did he join the wrong channel?
I don't know. I appear to be in the voice chat. Okay. We don't seem to see.
Is he hearing us?
You hearing us? Voice connected. Let's see. We can work this out. I created an invite for him. Now, he is a corporate exec. I'm going to tell him try to reboot his system. Okay. Try relaunching. Discord.
Oh, the joys of
Technology.
the joys of technology.
I thought he was already on my Discord, but I could be wrong. He might have.
I mean, he had to be. We did it. We did an interview with him.
Well, it was in our early days when we were still on Rob's channel. I don't remember.
No.
There he is.
It was.
Jay, do you hear us? We see you.
Say something, somebody.
Hello. Let's see.
Somebody on a bicycle just got pulled over by the cops.
Oh, you're outside?
I stepped out for just a second.
All right, guys. We are working on getting Jay onto the line. He is in our Discord. So, cancel. I don't care. Let's see. Am I doing anything crazy on him? No.
It's funny because Ross Quinn will jump in whenever.
Yeah. I know. Let's see what we can do. How about we do this? Call. Enjoy this moment, then jump in when you're ready. Okay. Why is this not working for him? Oh, my microphone isn't working. Give me a second. Okay. So it's on my
It's on his end.
Yeah. All right.
Well, in the meantime, we can talk about our last guest.
Well,
we had
we'll finish up the conversation on this. So yeah, check out the Kickstarter. I love the minis. And I'm still deciding on how I'm going to afford this.
Oh.
Hello.
There we go.
Here we go.
Sorry, there was a thing, and there was a button, and I had to press the button, and I didn't realize I had to press the button. I pressed the button, and now the button works.
Excellent. How you doing, man? Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me a little later than normal. I appreciate it. I had to go to an art show at my daughter's school.
Oh.
Well, that's important.
That is important.
Very.
Absolutely. For everybody who's just joining or unaware, we are now talking to Jay Gray, Artal Sorian's, I don't know, what's your
line manager.
Jay?
I'm the line manager for Cyberpunk.
Yeah. For Cyberpunk, he is the guy who is basically the creative force behind everything that's going on right now. Isn't that right?
No, Mike is the creative force. I'm the guy that watches over the line and makes sure that everything moves the way it's supposed to be moving. I get to do some creating, but it's still Mike at the top of the pyramid.
Right.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't mean to misspeak there.
No. No, not at all.
I'm trying to take anything away from Mike and his contribution, his overall goal and creation.
Well, I mean, with the DLCs, you do some of the creation, don't you? Or is it Mike giving you ideas for it?
That's mostly James and I, yes. But at the end of the day, everything gets run by Mike. And we check and make sure. It's like, yeah, that sounds good. And sometimes we go, no, that sounds bad. Do this instead. Or here's a 50-page treatise I wrote on this obscure topic. Fancy to do with it. I was reading it last night. It made me write.
Oh, anything you can share?
It's more. That's more of a general thing. No, but yeah, it's Mike is fully in charge, and then after that, it's like, he's the producer and I'm the director, or maybe it's the other way around. He's the director and I'm the producer. Or these metaphors just don't work.
Or you're the kitten wrangler.
Yeah, I
you are the editor, as it were. That's the line.
Yeah.
So here's something you should be able to talk about. Artal Sorian's major announcement, like 2 days ago, that the Edgerunners kit is going live.
Oh, yeah. I suppose I can talk. Yes, we are for the first time ever trying out pre-orders because a lot of people asked for it, and we said, okay, let's see if we can make it work. And so we're doing a very simple one. There's no bonuses or special alternative covers or discounts or anything like that. It's just you can order it in advance if you like right now by going to our website and rtlsorientgames.com and then ordering from our web store. You can also order it the digital version or the Roll20 VTT version over at DriveThruRPG. And it's that simple. Or if you prefer, go to your local game store. We encourage you to do so. We like local game stores and we want them to stay in business. Say, hey, I'd like this. And hopefully they'll say, okay, we'll order it for you.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I was bugging Rob Barefoot a month ago. I'm like, hey, you guys doing pre-orders? And he's like, no, we don't do pre-orders. I'm like, that's a shame.
Yep.
You should do pre-orders.
It really it came down to a week before. A lot of people were asking for it, and so we mentioned it to Lisa because Lisa makes all the business decisions, Lisa Pondsmith, and we said a lot of people are asking for pre-order. She said, okay, why don't we give it a try? I feel up to the challenge. Normally we don't do pre-orders because we kind of like knowing that we can ship it the minute within a short period of time after we get the pre-order. Also, it's nice to know that we'll have it in the warehouse and we know exactly what it looks like. On the off chance that, say, a train falls into the ocean or something.
Yeah, because
true.
Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But point being is that in this day and age, you never know. But we decided to give it a try, primarily because we were getting gleans that this was going to be a relatively big product in terms of interest, and we thought if we did pre-orders, we'd have that extra week or two of knowing in advance roughly how well it would sell, and therefore whether we needed to push reprint or not. The answer is still in the air, though I will say that you will not have a problem getting a copy. It has not. We did a big print run, so we have not gotten to the point where we're in danger of selling out.
Yeah, because the main core book, you guys are on the third printing, or is still on the second?
Well, we are. The current printing is the fourth, and the next one will be the fifth when we do that.
Congratulations!
I know they're past the third, so
yeah.
Because I remember you guys made a big announcement when the third dropped, when you were like, "We're now on the third reprinting."
Yeah,
and it was a while ago.
We did a relatively quiet fourth printing, and I don't know how far we are from a fifth printing, but we'll probably definitely get to a fifth printing.
That's great.
That's
man.
beautiful. I love that the franchise has taken off like this. To see like new life breathed into it in a way that just shadows what the original line was able to accomplish. Like, it's so huge now.
Yeah, well, we're on like the 523rd printing of 2020, so it's a joke because we don't order it in large quantities. We order it a couple hundred at a time.
Yeah.
We run out and we order more. And technically speaking, that's another printing. But since we don't change anything, it's more or less the same printing.
Got it. So there's still an interest in 2020 too. That's.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we still sell through the book. So in fact, I think Lisa just ordered some more copies to make sure we have plenty for Gen Con.
Yeah, I mean, even on the Reddits and stuff, like the demand for the books, there's daily almost people asking where they can buy books for 2020.
Yep. Most of them are in print and available from our web store, or they are available for your local game store to buy from a distributor or directly from us.
Yeah, and you can get PD copies from DriveThruRPG.
And print-on-demand copies, yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So about the Edgerunners mission kit.
Yes.
How many pages is it going to be, and is it just adventures, or will it serve as basically a source book for 2077?
Oh, okay. So the thing to remember with the mission kit is it is a box set, much like the Jumpstart kit was.
Yes.
So page count is a little deceptive as to what's in it. Though I will say there are 3 booklets. The 3 booklets equal about 120, actually exactly 120 pages.
Excellent.
It is three. When we started making it, we decided it was going to be three things. First, it is a starter box, just like a standard starter box in tabletop role-playing games, which is essentially a self-contained demo version of a game. You can get it for cheaper than you get a core rulebook. You can play it for a while. You get a good taste of what the game is like. And then if you want to play further, you really do want to pick up the core rulebook because it will have more. So it's got basic rule sets for playing the game. It does not have character creation. It does not have much of an economy. It does not have character advancement. It's missing certain more granular things like vehicle rules or martial arts rules. Not a large list of cyberware, that sort of thing. It's your standard starter box in that way. That's one. Two, it is a source book for Cyberpunk Red, containing information about playing games in the 2070 era. So rules about how roles are adjusted, rules about how the economy is adjusted, and a collection of weapons and cyberware and other things, some interesting rules on humanity loss adjustments that can all be ported right into your Cyberpunk Red game, either whether you're playing 2020 or 2045 or 2077. It's essentially a bunch of new stuff that, it functions, like 20 pages or so of new stuff that functions well for taking your game either into the 2070s or bringing the 2070s into your game. Fully compatible. And then finally, it is a lore book. On the adventure is fully compatible. There is one large adventure. It's 6 to 10 hours long, depending on your playstyle, is what we gathered through our own playtesting. It is fully compatible with Cyberpunk Red rules. And then it's lore. It is a lot of new lore, never before seen, about the Cyberpunk universe. If you are the kind of person who likes to know all the details about how the Cyberpunk universe works and its history, there are things in this box set that have literally never been seen anywhere else.
Nice. And that even, because I saw that,
Pretty excited about that.
You say that it dates back to the 1990s of the world. So are you like backtracking and actually filling out some of the areas that people had like questions of or there were gaps in? For even like, the
Most
2020
of the new
fans?
lore. No, I mean, we had already done some of that already.
Yeah.
For example, we talked in the Cyberpunk Red Core rulebook, we talked a lot more about the collapse and the Gang of Four than we had previously.
Right.
But no, most of the fill-ins we've done from the 2045 to the 2070 era.
Got it. That's good.
I mean, that's on a lot of people's minds. People have been clamoring for a 2077 source book since the video game was announced.
Since 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, since 2020.
This will give you a lot of information. It'll talk a lot about how the world progressed from the time of the Red to the 2070s. It's going to be pretty cool. And it's find out the fate of a few corporations and where they are. We always like to say, just because you didn't see it in 2077 doesn't mean they don't exist in 2077.
Right.
Sure, there's only so much they can put in the video game.
Yeah, and in some cases that's true, and in some cases it's not true. So maybe some of your favorite corporations didn't make it, and maybe you'll find out about it. And also backgrounds on everybody in Maine and David's crew.
Oh, cool. So you worked with
cool.
Studio Trigger to kind of flesh some of that story out?
That came to us from the writers over at CDPR, who did the original story treatments and character creations on those characters. Then gave them Studio Trigger, and Studio Trigger did more work with them on the final scripts. But their backgrounds information came from the original writers of the anime story treatments.
Cool. So my question is, and I know we talked back at Gen Con last year, and I did run, I think 3 or 4 of the slots for the edgerunners kind of rule set,
Yes.
and I think it seemed very light. From that, how much has it changed, those particular rules that we did see? And can you go into details, or can you kind of like at least say broadly what has changed?
Okay, well, yeah, I can talk broadly about it because there was a report. I'm going to say now, there was a report, and then there was a summary of the report, and the report wasn't quite right, and the summary changed it even more. So you're playing a game of telephone with what actually the rules that were played with. So if you've read that summary on, say, the subreddit, you didn't get perhaps the clearest picture you could have gotten. But I will say, at Gen Con, the adventure you ran, you called it the Jacket.
Yeah.
But in actuality, you were running the Incident,
Yes.
which is the adventure at the back of Danger Gal Dossier. So if you played that, or you heard about it, or you ran it, what you're going to be playing, what you have in this kit is completely different. There is only some vague similarities.
Okay.
We needed an adventure you can run very quickly, and this was not it. The Jacket, the Jacket as it was at that time, was not it. The Jacket itself has gone through several iterations since. The rules, you only worked with 2 sets of rules. You worked with weapons. Sorry, 3 sets of rules, technically speaking. You worked with weapons, a little bit with cyberware, and with quick hacking rules. Those are not the only rules, new rules in the Jacket. In the mission kit. There are also economy rules, role adjustments mostly based around economy, and new rules regarding how humanity can be lost and gained.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yes. The changes to those rules. So we did take feedback from Gen Con as well as from additional playtests, and we did tweak quick hacking. If you'll recall, quick hacks ran into 3 categories at Gen Con.
Yep.
They now run into 4. So there's a ladder of 4, and we move things around. You, for example, don't get direct damage hacks until further up in the chain now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the one thing critique, and I think I've voiced it either to you or someone at our Telsorian, around the ability to control a person, right? And I understand, you're trying to simulate the Cyberpunk 2077 quick hacks of suicide and detonate grenade. However,
Right.
I think players want that ability, but I think if 2077 had enemy hackers do that to V, their opinions of those quick hacks might be different, right?
That's still there. I mean, that actually hasn't changed, but that's
really?
literally the hardest thing to do out of the set.
Well, I'm just
You need to beat
hoping.
it well.
Yeah, but 12 at a high level is still.
Yeah, but you're not going to get to high level for quite a while. Once you're at the high level, I mean, to hit it consistently, you have to get to level 7
Yeah.
with your net running. As there's nothing that helps it. Once you're level 7, A, congratulations, you spent a lot of points IP to get there.
Right.
B, there are multiple ways to get someone out of your head before then, and also you weren't dealing with the cyberware specifically designed to slow that action economy down.
Right. And I think the rules that I saw, it was very hard to resist that hack.
Oh no! In fact, it's super easy. Once you know someone's in there, it's easier to kick them out of their head. That you have the advantage so long as you have points in concentration.
Well, so the rules I saw,
You're
right?
rolling. What?
So the rules I saw was basically you have to see your opponent, you hack into them. Once you hack in them, you upload the quick hack, and then that quick hack was basically, it seemed like it was almost like instantaneous.
It is.
Yeah,
we're not.
You can't
we're not
resist it.
doing multiple rounds. You can't resist it if they get in.
Right.
You can do things to prevent them from getting in. There's
Right.
a piece of cyberware called self ice,
Yeah.
which puts additional barriers between you and them. Yes, so there is a high level mind control sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it is a tough one.
It is.
But it is also relatively fair.
Okay.
And there are low-level ones that allow you to move people around, and you specifically cannot put them in danger when you do it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the culmination of all that, those rules, and see how they advanced. But that's pretty cool.
They are frankly not any more difficult or complicated. Actually, they're less complicated and actually less powerful than the net hacking rules for 2020.
Cool. So are there rules on how to get a nibble or nibbles or whatever version of little cat that you can have as a pet in 2077? Or
no specific rules on bio animals
yet.
So you have to ask the question whether nibbles is actually there or not.
And
I mean,
he's there.
He's there. He's got to be there. I have spent way too much time staring at that cat for him not to be there.
Or is nibbles quite literally the manifestation of his cyberpsychosis?
No, we don't want to. No, I don't want to think that deeply about it, because that would mean that I'm nuts. And...
No, because there's another cat in the city that people were interacting with. I think it was right outside. Yeah.
Vix, yeah, I saw that cat. I didn't see that there was two people near it. Never seen any of them even look at it.
No, there was not there. It was a different area.
Goro sees the cat on the construction site. He's the one who points it out to you.
That's true, too.
That's true. He's pretty cybered up, too, isn't he?
I mean, maybe it's a shared psychosis.
It's lost purpose in life.
Some augmented reality shared via everybody's wireless connections.
Or maybe that cyberpsychosis is an AI run rampant.
You are tripping deep down the conspiracy theory levels here that will...
Get back to your question. Quick hacking, like I said, has expanded from 3 tiers of things to 4 tiers of things. Okay. There are... we added one quick hack that wasn't there originally. And we have made sure that there are cyberware solutions to helping keep people out, which are based partly on essentially eating up actions to give you enough time to know. And also, you can always get out of range, or you can shoot them. Netrunners have a hard time quick hacking if they're dead.
Very true.
Or unconscious. Weapon-wise, the weapons haven't changed much at all. I think we made some small tweaks to them based actually every time CDPR updated Cyberpunk 2077, we would go through and say, did they change the amount of ammunition this gun has? Do we have to change the amount of ammunition this gun has? That kind of thing. But the weapons haven't changed too much. Those rules are pretty solid. They play tested well.
Did you include anything from, well, right, because it's the edgerunner thing, so you're not going to have any Phantom Liberty.
There's lore concerning locations you visit in Phantom Liberty, but no, you're not getting Blackwall level hacks.
Right. Well, not just Blackwall level hacks, but the various new tech that kind of was introduced.
No masks of face changing varieties. Right. No, if it's not in Edgerunners, it's not in this.
Got it.
What about, say, the factions of Phantom Liberty?
We cover lore-wise. We cover Barghest. We cover Dogtown. We talk we talk a little bit about Hansen, and what he did. So the lore book is 40 pages long, and it covers. It covers a whole lot of stuff. It talks about. It follows a kind of a similar path to the lore in Cyberpunk Red. It talks about, everyday stuff, what you eat, how you get your news, how you get your entertainment, that sort of thing. It talks about every location. It talks about every district in Night City. It talks about certain specific locations to a point, because it's not a full core rule book or lore book. We don't cover it. We don't have a dozen locations per district. And also, again, we're sticking mostly to what was in Edgerunners. Though, obviously, Dogtown wasn't, but it's in there because we can't leave out Dogtown because it's part of Night City, sort of, kind of. A history of the world, including some more information about the timeline, and just information, just in general about from the time of the Red, the building up back up of Night City in the 2050s and the 2060s, the Unification War, the return of Arasaka, that sort of thing. It is pretty cool. I quite enjoyed. Mike did the first run on it, and then he got some good stuff, and then we did some more. But yeah, we talked about the technology and cyberware and the generations of cyberware and why everyone has neural ports, which is, when you're walking around Cyberpunk and 2077 and everybody has a phone in their head, that's part of the neural port.
How about?
Well, I don't know if Pan Am does. She seemed to be on the phone.
She's pretty.
She might have a hand phone. I honestly don't remember if see it. So I will say this. Question I got a lot early days when 2077 came out was like, why does everybody have cyber eyes? And the answer is they don't. Those neural ports hook into your optic nerve. So you get some of the benefits. You get the benefits of Chiron without having a cyber eye.
Yeah, it's Times Square marquee, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. You get that benefit. Yeah, you get that benefit without actually having to get cyber optics.
Yeah, it's like augmented reality without the glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Edgerunners, the anime, like the tech in there, there was a big disconnect because it was an anime as opposed to the video game. There was a big disconnect between the level of physics that are applied. Like David Sandevistan basically makes him the Flash. He's running faster than the speed of sound, and
he's moving fast. Yes.
I mean, he clears out a building in the time it takes for a bullet to hit the floor. Like multiple rooms, like he's moving faster than the eye can see. Like, so, do you guys address that?
We do address David Sandy. It does some remarkable things. It does not turn you into the Flash. It is a one-of-a-kind object. It is a hand of Vecna. It is Excalibur. It is not something everyone's going to have.
Yeah, you say that now, but I have a feeling there's going to be a group of people with...
How long you been gaming, man?
It's got... you'd have to remove a lot of downsides if you want to play that character for more than a session.
Right.
It's got some nasty downsides. Playing with that thing is a losing proposition. That being said, if you're the GM and you want to let it in your game, that's your business, and
sure
it's
enough.
on your head. It is on your head if you decide to let that in your game.
Yeah.
Beyond that, think about it this way: you were not watching when you watched Edgerunners. You were not watching a documentary as to what happened, where cameras followed them around everywhere. You were hearing a bar story after it happened.
That's one way to
makes
look
sense.
at it.
That turns it into kind of like the 300 interpretation, where you're not seeing what actually happened. You're hearing about it from, the one survivor who's telling a tale in order to inspire.
Exactly. It is a story. So and that's kind of you should take all stories in Cyberpunk that way. Every story in Cyberpunk is a story that's told after the fact, at the afterlife or the Forlorn Hope or another bar.
That adds an entirely new perspective I hadn't actually considered. And I actually quite enjoy looking at it through that perspective. Because that was like a big problem I had with the anime. It was just too over the top.
Yeah.
But thinking about it in the perspective of somebody who's embellishing their ass off to tell an interesting story, that works for me.
Yeah, that's the idea. I can't claim credit for that. Patrick Mills over at CDPR first introduced that concept. He said, as far as we're concerned, everything that happened, for example, in 2077 has multiple endings and multiple different ways you can do things, different people you can romance, and whether it's a man or a woman or all these things, was via corpo, was via street rat. They're all true depending on who's telling the story afterwards.
That's beautiful.
And it's just like in Firestorm. Like, if you go back and play the game, there's hundreds upon hundreds of different permutations of how that adventure went down, right? Because every different group played it differently. And they're all true, depending on who was telling the story afterwards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was it actually Yorinobu who was soul killed or not?
Yeah.
It was just recently pointed out to me that you guys addressed that in the Cyberpunk core book with a little blurb off to the side when you're describing Arasaka, where it says that, you know, that was just a clone of Yorinobu or something like that. He wasn't actually soul killed.
Yeah. I think it was his biosculpted body double.
Yeah.
Well, or
Exactly.
you can always assume
That's
that
what
it
Arasaka
was
says.
the true
Yeah, see,
Yorinobu,
that's
and they had a clone who basically they, brainwashed into thinking they were Yorinobu.
okay. Here's my super secret theory. Yorinobu, in fact, was soul killed. Spider grabbed his template after the events of Firestorm. Like at some point, she grabs Johnny's template too before they skate off after he's been shot down by Smasher. But after the events of Firestorm, there's the epilogue where Spider Murphy, Shaitan, Rogue, and Thompson, I think, one other person, sneak aboard Kei Arasaka's submarine and soul kill him. And that's where the book ends. Now, my theory is that Saburo Arasaka has spent decades searching for Kei's engram. In that searching, they found Johnny and Yorinobu's. They put Yorinobu's engram into a cloned body after being heavily edited to try and remove some of his disloyalty towards the Arasaka family, especially Saburo. And then basically just tortured Johnny, because why the hell not? But I think the whole thing is that they're looking for Kei. And that's the real impetus for them trying to get into the Blackwall. Now, that's just my personal theory, but that's the one I've been going with in my head.
So, Derek, do you
That's
have
a good theory.
like all these little post-it notes and like pictures with red string connecting them all
I got
together
strings.
on your wall?
We're way too close to this thing.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. Sometimes explaining away the seeming inconsistencies is more fun than just saying, "Oh no, this doesn't match that." Back in the old days, Stanley used to call them no prizes.
Oh yeah.
So, I have a quick question
It's a big
around
kind of a no prize.
the mission kit and what Monster Fight Club is doing with the Edgerunner expansion to Combat Zone. Are you guys tying in kind of a similar release date, or is it something that they're doing it on their own, or there's no coordination between the two companies?
Yeah, their release is their release, and our release is our release. It's a complete coincidence that happened in kind of the same ballpark.
Okay.
It's just the way it happened to work out.
I mean, it works out well, and you guys, like, we know there's been some collaboration, because with Danger Gals, like, all the interior art in the book is based directly off of Monsters miniatures.
So we're definitely talking, but we're not coordinating on that level. We're like, oh, if you hold and you hold, no, we get things out, because the truth is, when you're in a company as small as ours, you need to get things out because you're always needing to make a little more money to pay for the next product.
Right.
Absolutely.
And are you including the Arasaka White Division in the mission kit, like Monster Fight Club has with their expansion?
No,
No. Something they did on their own.
I'm not going to tell you anything about the adventure.
Just don't do another thing where 2 days from now you open up all about it.
I mean, that's always possible. No, I'm not going to tell you who you fight or don't fight or confront or who the potential enemies are in the adventure.
That makes perfect sense. You don't want to spoil.
No, we don't drill down so far into Arasaka as to get into different divisions. Arasaka White Division was, hey, these guys look cool, and we made them white, and so that's what they're called.
Got it.
And then
Sometimes
lore.
that's all you need.
Sometimes that's all you need, but we're not. Yeah, this is not a super deep dive. This is a lot of cool new information. This is not Core Book 2020.
Got it. Yeah. So the other subject I wanted to get into is, what was the summit about? Or can you?
We have
say
one of those
anything? Okay.
Yeah, we have a summit a year, and it's literally what are we gonna do for the next year?
And that's a combination of CDPR and you guys, or does it also include it's a fight club?
No, that was a coincidence. Sorry, that was a coincidence too. They happen to be having a summit in the same, roughly in the area at the same time with a bunch of their people. And so we just said, hey, okay, we're gonna extend our summit an extra day, and we'll drive down and we'll talk to you guys. And that's a kind of an extension of the fact that pre-COVID, we used to go over to Poland once a year and talk to them. Mm-hmm. And we talk to them all the time online and in calls. Anyway, I've had a couple of email exchanges with CDPR this week alone. But sometimes it's nice to get there in person, see what they're doing. And so that this year, their get-together happened to be in a place where we can easily get to from our get-together. And again, it's weird, but it was a coincidence. Our summit is literally just, we get together, we talk about what the last year was like and what we want to do, and we try to we hard program the next year, and we soft program the next couple of years after that.
Okay, so we know with 2077 that there was massive collaboration between CDPR and Artal Saurian, especially Mike. We know that they're working on Project Orion. Has that level of cooperation manifested? Has it started yet? We know you can't give away any secrets
about this at all.
Okay.
Okay. You're hitting my NDA super hard. I will say that there is ongoing coordination about the universe as a whole. We're constantly talking about, because there's still a lot of things to fill in. There are broad strokes, for example, in the timeline, but it's not like we've decided this is what happens every month of every year between 2045 and 2077. So there's still a lot of collaboration there. We're talking about it fairly often, but I cannot say anything about Orion.
Right, the specifics around it.
Yeah,
that's understandable. But there is
fully
talks.
Understand. Like I said, I know you couldn't tell us any details or secrets, but that you're talking. That's really what I wanted to know.
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
means things are moving forward, and that's really the.
There's a lot of back and forth. They'll email and say, we're looking for information on this topic, and I'll email back with information, or I'll email. As a good example, we're working on Tales of the Red Forlorn Hope, which is an adventure book, campaign adventure book that will come out later this year. And literally at one point, I was like, I got to figure out where I want to set this part of the book. So I hopped in 2077. I drove to a point. I was like, this is really cool. I want it to be here. And then I emailed them back and I said, hey, here's a screenshot of this area. Can this building and this building exist in 2045? And they said, sure it can. I was like, cool. And I was like, is it okay if these buildings don't? And they said, yes. And so sometimes it's something as simple as that, small in the grand scheme of things. It's like one city block. And sometimes it's much more complicated, like who the presidents of the new United States were. There's a lot of collaboration and back and forth discussion.
You just saying that has got me super excited. I'm a lore guy. I love lore. Even if it's lore that I don't personally use, I love knowing it. I love it being there. I love a fleshed out world. And And like I said, the most major part is that yes, there's still coordination and cooperation between RTAL and CDPR. Like that in and of itself is just super makes me super happy to know.
So
to
now,
the point where my vocabulary becomes rather simple and stuff.
and Jay, since you mentioned it with the Tales from the Forlorn Hope, so we heard that Will Moss is going to be involved with that.
Will Moss wrote a new piece of fiction for it.
Okay.
Will Moss, one of the who you've had on your show, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Great original Cyberpunk 2020 writers. I went to him and I said, "Hey, we're working on a new Forlorn Hope book. It feels weird to do it without you. Would you be interested?" He said, "Well, I got to tell you, I haven't, really played Red. I can't write, mechanics for it." And I was like, "That's okay. I need a piece of opening fiction. I need something really cool in a style that only you can write." And so he did. And I'll reveal a little bit about it right now here, I believe, exclusively.
Woohoo!
Yes.
So back in the day, Will Moss wrote a lot of a character named C.J. O'Reilly.
Yep.
C.J. O'Reilly was in media.
Yeah, media.
Yeah, who worked primarily for Solo of Fortune magazine. And he is the point of view character for the fictional sections of the old Forlorn Hope, the original Forlorn Hope book. You will be meeting his daughter, who is the point of view character for this fiction. And it will be, there will be some bring some tissues. It is there's some moments. He did an amazing job. He remains, I am happy to say, an amazingly bang up noir writer. And I am really excited for people to read this fiction.
We're very excited that he got called in to do it. I think a lot of those the old crew from RTAL Saurian, we got a chance to interview most of the major names now. There's a couple we haven't been able to get a hold of yet, but we're working on it. And seeing you bring somebody in from the old crew to work on the new iteration, it warms this old Cyberpunk's heart. Is there any more of that planned? Are you planning on bringing anybody else back?
Nothing. As you know, Dave Ackerman is involved in a lot of what we do already.
Yeah.
So, Dave's there. He wrote for Danger Girl Dossier. He did some work on Tree Stories and the core rulebook. But no specific plans that I can talk about at the moment, which doesn't mean it's not going to happen. The big thing is a lot of them, they've got busy lives. And then it's always finding the right project because I don't want to do, here's a cameo. Where somebody shows up on the screen for 5 seconds in the movie, like, oh, now we're paying tribute. Yeah. Or there's a sting, just one musical sting, and that's it. I want it to be real, like Will writing a whole thing. Right. And I want it to make sense. But yes, that doesn't mean there's not going to be other things in the future. That is certainly a possibility.
And not to do anything that you might already been talking with, but I don't know if you remember Craig Sheely.
I do remember Craig.
Yep.
So, I don't remember Craig. I've never met him, but I am aware of his work in things like Maximum Metal and his strong mechanical designs.
So we recently had him on the air, and over the years, he's always been like, Maximum Metal can be written better, and he has ideas. So he actually on I'm not sure if it was like after the show or during the show, but he was quite interested in coming up with some vehicle rules specifically when it comes to military gear. So he was always interested in continuing that. And again, that man he's interesting to talk to, very knowledgeable. I mean, he I think his mind works at a crazy speed. But he mentioned to us that he's very interested because he's like, if anyone's listening, I'm willing to
I mean,
take a look at it
I
and
think he's
help it out.
right now. I think he's meaning to do it as like a fan supplement, just
Yeah. Well,
something fun.
but I mean,
But
it could be like a DLC.
I love. I mean, Ross Wynn has shared some of his ideas with me about, things that never came to fruition. It's always great to talk to these guys and see, what could have been, or things that got set to the wayside that just never got picked up again before basically the line ended and the next iteration took place.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of really cool stuff out there, and amazing writers from all across the spectrum. Honestly, at that, it's almost spoiled for choice how many
yeah,
people
that's
work on
true.
that are just amazingly good, and they've gone on to do such amazing things afterwards. It's like you look at it, and it's like they went on to work for EA or DC Comics, or it's just amazing.
Yeah, right now, we're getting close to tracking down Doug Anderson. I know he taught at the University of Connecticut for a while.
The University
for a long,
of Hartford.
long time. Or Hartford in Connecticut.
In Connecticut, yeah.
I have actually tried to track him down before, and there's another Doug Anderson who's also an artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
We contacted him a couple months ago. He's like, "Nope, I'm not that guy." But we finally
he's probably tired of people thinking he is. But no one I know knows where he is. So unfortunately, so if you find him, cool.
We found him.
And
we just haven't
like I said,
been able to
him.
establish contact with him.
Our art director would be glad to talk to him. We'd love to have his email address.
If we can get it that far, I will definitely pass that along. But yeah, I mean, I've actually got I don't know if it's his current phone number or not, but I don't want to feel all stalkery calling some dude out of nowhere and just like, hey, big fans. But yeah, we're definitely working on that. I think I might have a line in getting a hold of Paolo Parente. Basically through my years of comic book stuff. Although I think there's a language barrier there.
I mean,
we may
you
not
could
be
always
able to
try.
overcome.
You can always try emailing Need Games. They might have the gaming community in Italy is relatively small. So
Yeah.
and
he's mostly moved on from that. I guess he does miniature gaming now as a parent company for his Dust line. But yeah, we're still desperately trying to get a hold of everyone we can who has ever been a player at Artal Sorian, who's ever been one of the core names.
Either writer or artist.
Yeah. Or editor.
Well,
yeah.
That's usually either Derek or David.
Yeah, usually.
At the top, if you look, there's some names there in other books, especially in the earlier books.
Some of the books just used one-off crews. Usually, like the UK source book or the Pacific Rim source book. They just used very localized crews for that. That didn't ever really work with anything else. It's unlikely we'll be able to track those guys down.
Oh, I mean, one of the guys that worked on the Pacific Rim still works for us. He wrote for Danger Galdacier.
Oh, which one?
So now he worked for he wrote the Tiger Claws section.
Okay.
And he does translation for Hobby Japan of Cyberpunk Red stuff.
Holy shit! Yeah, if you could pass along the information or ask him if he wouldn't mind being interviewed, that would be awesome.
Or should we talk to
no,
Robert Bob Barefoot to arrange that?
Yeah, you talk to Rob, and Rob can get you his information. But yeah, Rob, he was part of the crew that did the translations back in 2020. He worked on Pacific Rim. He was on Twitter, and he mentioned it, and we got into a conversation. And then I was like, hey, and then he was like, he said, I'm still translating for you. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's right, because we don't know. We give it to Hobby Japan, right? And Hobby Japan puts up the books. And I said, that's awesome. He's doing most of the translating, and now he'll email me with this giant list of questions. It's like, did you mean this or this? If you translate this word into Japanese, it means something completely different. Can I use this word? The Hobby Japan and Need Games over in Italy are the two best for just asking me tons of questions when they're doing translations.
That's fantastic.
And then I was like, hey, I really want the Tiger Claws to not sound like some bad stereotype from someone who doesn't get what it's like, what Japanese culture is like, what Japanese gangster media is like.
Yeah, what Boso Suzuka really is.
Yeah. So I said, would you mind writing the section? He said, you're gonna have to do a lot of work on that because I'm good enough to translate English to Japanese, but going the other way, there might be some rough spots. So I can smooth out the rough spots, but I cannot, make up a lifetime of lived experience that you have. And he's like, sure. And we got some great things, some amazing things, little bits here and there, just the concepts of that are in the Tiger Claw section really, I think, make them stand out as much more than just, there's a Japanese gang in Night City. There's this deep, rich background with wonderful soap opera style stories to them in his section.
That's fantastic. I mean, I've looked through the credits of Red, and I look through the credits of every book I get, but I'd never correlated the two. Like, my brain didn't make the connection between that name and Pacific Rim. That's fantastic.
He could tell you about the Nippon source book, which only came out in Japan, which was pieces of the Arasaka court book, pieces of the Pacific Rim court book, and I think a little bit of new material plus new illustrations that they made specifically for Japan. It's essentially a Japanese source book for Japan.
And this is the first time I'm hearing of that. I've played this game obsessively since 1989. I've tried to track down everything. I even have a copy of the Nathan Never source book from Italy, and I've never heard of the Nippon source book.
I've held that in my hands, and I've held the Nippon source book in my hands because we have copies of it in the office. But yeah, talk to Rob, and I'm sure you can get that story about that. And there was a Japanese, which I do believe you know about. There was a Japanese fanzine too.
We became aware of that
from James Hunt.
And my searches for that have become fruitless, and I shake my fist at the sky in anger at there being any Cyberpunk 2020 products that I don't own. It's infuriating to me.
Or even know about.
Yep.
I mean, I have the Classon pin that our Talsorian put out in like the first couple of years. I never tracked down the jacket, but I got the pin.
Well, Derek, you basically have a list of all the various products from everywhere. On
yeah,
your
but
site.
I don't have these things.
Yeah, well, I know you don't own them, but now you know about them, right? Which now you have to
now
add
I
to
can
your list.
update the list with things I don't own. Hell, I'm still trying to track down a copy of the Japanese 2020 core book, just because of the different art.
It is a gorgeous book. The art in that is so neat. It is beautiful. I've been fortunate to hold that in my hands too, and it is so neat, the stuff that's in there. Really is amazing to see anime Johnny and anime alt.
Yeah.
So was that under was that under the supervision of Mike that you got to hold it?
No, that was literally because back in the day there wasn't really that level of supervision, right? Because no internet, or at least very, very primitive internet. So there was very little conversation. So it was literally just they said, okay, can we do our own art? And somebody said yes. And so they did their own art with their own artists, and they did some really gorgeous anime art.
I know in the mid 2000s, the German company Games In produced a full color hardcover version of Cyberpunk 2020, and I was lucky enough to get a copy of that. I actually won it from an online contest. And, like, we didn't expect Americans to enter the contest. I'm all like, well, you should have put that in the rules. But
Yeah.
It's like, at the time, it was one of the most gorgeous things I'd ever seen. And I was all like, man, I wish we could get an English copy of this in America to, like, reinvigorate the line. And then Red comes out and it's fully color and it's every bit as gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, you got it. That was a big thing. We were sitting around working on Red. We're like, oh, it's got to be full color. That wasn't a choice. If you're I don't want to say a certain level, like I'm saying, oh, other games that are black and white now are below us. But if you are a certain level of commercial game, you kind of need to have that, unless your concept specifically is retro or leans to, like, there's a game called Never Gone Home, which is setting up kind of a fantasy World War One, or an occult supernatural World War One. And it's all black and white, and it works really well. Or Blades in the Dark, it works really well. But Cyberpunk Red, it needs full color, because people will be looking at 2077 and be going, I don't get what this black and white Nagel art is.
Yeah. Well,
you gotta do it for the kid.
I mean, if you're a top tier RPG company at this point, your books need to be in color. Like,
yeah, it's a thing. And it's just it allows for a lot of different things. There are things I'd love to do. I'd love to get Sam Liu to do a piece for us. Again, he is so busy making movies now.
Yeah, I tried looking for contact information on him, and I gave up on that one quick. Like that.
Well, it's like also Eric Heiser, right?
Yeah, they're
in
so
a different world.
Yeah. It's like it'd be like trying to get Harrison Ford at this point for an interview. Like, hey, you want to talk about Han Solo? No,
I don't think he wants to talk about Han Solo again, personally.
Again, ever.
Yeah. No, it is fun, and it's fun, and it's nice to work with a lot of the newer artists out there, because they've got some fresh eyes, but they're also looking at the past for a lot of things too.
Yeah,
they kind of says, "Oh, I love doing old retro stuff." We're like, "Glad you do." The wires,
Every
the
time
guns
you
with
say
wires.
Retro, it hurts my brain and my heart at the same time.
Oh, I turn 50 next year, if it makes you feel any better. So.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to the club. We can go get our meds together.
I'm old. I'm old enough that I can remember 2020 its heyday, and young enough that hopefully I can think of new things. It's a balance.
So with I don't know if you want to talk about this or not. What?
Okay. I can't even talk about the mission kit, right? That was the topic.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
This is just a general subject. What is R. Talsorian's official view on AI generated materials?
Don't use it. That's it. That's literally just it. For business reasons, the question of copyright is extremely problematic. And we like knowing we have a piece of art or text, and we own it now. We'll own it in 10 years. We'll be able to keep publishing it. That's just important. Because it gets really complicated really fast. So that's the big thing. Also, it's just we respect creators, and we respect the ability of creators to create. Now, people will get very nitpicky and say, well, if someone, is doing, say, we're doing Shadowscar right now, for example. Shadowscar is a new game by Cody Pondsmith. Will be coming out. Free RPG Day will be the quick start at your local store. Please pick it up if you can.
Nice.
And we'll hopefully have a box set, the starter set, available at Gen Con this year. It is multi-dimensional travel with ninjas, and it's got a very anime/manga aesthetic. And so, if, for example, someone did a piece of manga art for it that we requested, and they did a kind of autofill background, with halftones, which is a very common thing that happens in anime/manga art programs. Is that AI generated? We'll go, no, that's not AI generated. If someone kind of AI generates a model in a specific pose and then uses that pose as a reference, is that AI generated? No, that's not AI generated, as long as that model doesn't come into the original art. If it's just for reference, I don't particularly like it, mostly because there's a lot of moral questions about whether AI programs
Where that pose actually comes from.
Yeah, where the pose actually comes from, and use of copyrighted material without the permission of the origin or compensation for the creators. But if someone goes and buys a wooden doll, one of those wooden art dolls, and uses them, I'm not going to say, "Oh no, you use a wooden art doll to do your pose." If Alex Ross poses someone, and then that person's face, Alex Ross, the famous comic cover artist, he does full life models in costume.
Yeah, he takes photos, like fully down to lighting and all that. Like Alex Ross is,
he's amazing.
He's basically the Rembrandt of the comic book world.
Yeah. So if you're using your AI art to do that, to say, okay, I can't find an example of this person in this pose, so I'll generate that pose, and then you use it just for that, we're not going to ding you. But if it ends up in the final piece, if any AI art stuff ends in your final piece, you've violated your contract with us. And the same is true for writing. Even more so, because there's really nothing you can do with writing. You can't make a pose in writing.
No.
So the answer is we don't use it for business reasons, for moral and ethical reasons, and because, well, we've written Cyberpunk, so we know what happens to AI over the long run.
That's absolutely beautiful. That is, I couldn't agree with you more on all fronts, especially that last one. Like, AI is the enemy. We don't use that.
I mean, I was reading an article today that said, people have been pressing, I can't remember his name, the guy that's in charge of OpenAI, and saying, how does it work? And in the end he had to admit they don't quite know how it works. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't sound dangerous at all, does it?
No, that's not. That doesn't raise every hair on the back of my neck at the same time. Like, no.
It's one thing if I don't know, for example, exactly how a car works. Like, I can still drive one. But if the guy that's building my car doesn't know how it works, that's a different story. Or designing it,
Well, the other problem with AI that I saw an article on was, back 5 years ago, AIs used to be able to do calculations with a 95% accuracy. Today, it's less than 50. That's a problem.
Well,
math does not change.
And as the mistakes, as it makes mistakes, it learns from those mistakes, but it learns the wrong thing from those mistakes, so it makes more mistakes. It's a whole chain. You're absolutely right. So, in theory, if there was a way to do AI ethically, which at this point I'm not sure there is, if we were to say, for example, be able to get a closed AI system that's only its system, it doesn't leave for anywhere else, and we were able to feed it all our books so that you as a player can go, tell me about autofire, and it tells you about autofire, but it pulls from every source, so you don't have to flip through multiple books. It's like, I can see that as being a really powerful and useful tool for a player.
But there's also
basically,
I would have to say, but there's a drawback to that, because if you have the AI who does that, you might not own the previous books, so it's pulling in content from things that haven't been purchased, and you're buying a service from that IP, then all the content that feeds into it.
I mean, that's
is not necessarily
what D&D Beyond does.
True.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a subscription service.
Yeah, there's a possibility for that, and that's the whole thing. Or I can see it as we actually have started getting a lot of requests for solo play, because a lot of people have trouble finding groups, and it's especially true if you're not playing D&D. It's easier now because you can play with people online, but even now, 90% of the games out there are 5e. And I could see like essentially a AI GM being kind of cool, or just it's not the full experience, but it's something until you can find a group. But problem is right now I don't think that there is a way that AI can be ethical without starting completely over again. And even then, if I ask it about ducks in Cyberpunk, it's going to give me, bullshit rules about ducks because it will make something to say, I don't know anything about. There's nothing about ducks.
Or do you mean dodge?
Yeah. Do you mean I don't?
Yeah.
It's like ducking is a way of avoiding a blade. So obviously use these rules.
So I know we've reached our time usually at the show, but because you were late, how much time you still have left to kind of continue?
I can stay on. I can stay with you for another half hour.
Okay.
If you're good with it, I don't want to take
too
much of your time. I appreciate you adjusting your schedule to me.
Nope. Usually,
works for us.
Usually, me and Derek after a show, well, with every guest, we chat a little bit after the show. So, plenty of time from my point of view. So is there any other things that you want to tout about with the mission kit that you haven't addressed in the various blog posts you've done, or other things that you really think players should be excited about with the kit?
Well, you know what? Let me run you through what's in it, because I think that will excite people. So you get a box. I like boxes. Boxes are cool. You get a box. Inside the box, you'll start with an intro sheet, and the intro sheet will tell you it's what is an RPG, what is Cyberpunk. So it's something you can completely skip if you played an RPG before. But otherwise, so we took that out of the books and put it on its own sheet. Also, it gives you a list of what's in the box, so it's a table of contents of sorts. There are 3 books. There's the Edgerunner Handbook, which is a completely in-world lore book, as told by multiple. It starts off with Maximo Mike coming and talking to you, and other characters show up and tell and write their sections. In the classic Cyberpunk, why tell lore? Why tell you lore out of world when we can tell it to you in world? Sort of tradition. It's got tons of cool new stuff. About how Night City evolved from the time of the Red to 2077, how cyberware evolved, how the world evolved. It's pretty neat. It's got those new biographies I've talked about. There's the rule book. The rule book starts off with, it's sort of like Cyberpunk Red Easy Mode, which is the free quick start you can get. Starts off basically there, and then expands so that you can, for example, Easy Mode doesn't have auto fire. This does, because we needed to include auto fire rules to make guns from edgerunners work. It goes into quick hacking, and then it goes from there into new rules, adjusting your game for 2077, how to change the roles, how to change economy, for example. Fixers get access to items earlier than they would to essentially in Cyberpunk Red, fixers get access to items based on their cost level, expensive, very expensive, that sort of thing. At certain ranks, they get it earlier in 2077. Other roles get access to certain levels of cost at different ranks. For example, when it makes sense, for example, lawmen get access to things within their profession when they hit a certain level, even if they're more than 100 Euro bucks. There's a rule for, if I don't have it and I don't have a fixer, can I still get it? Yes, you can. And I can tell you what the rule is, but there's now a rule for it.
Okay.
And then there's the new guns, power weapons, which fire harder, tech weapons, which can fire through things, and smart weapons, which are like smart weapons, but when loaded with of old, but integrated into it, and when loaded with improved smart ammunition, can ignore some really nasty penalties.
So
there's new cyberware.
Just quick question on the tech weapons. Tech weapons ricochet, correct?
No, power weapons ricochet.
Power weapons. Okay. Because I know
Tech weapons shoot.
some power weapons. Tech weapons shoot through cover. Power weapons ricochet around cover.
Yeah, basically the power weapons are shoot so powerfully that you can ricochet without losing momentum of the bullet.
Right. Okay.
There's new cyberware. David Sandy's in there, but so are classics: Mantis Blades, the Gorilla Arms, the Neuroports. It's really cool, all the things Neuroports can do. Neuroports are game changers to how cyberware works. And you start off with a Neuroport in 2077.
You don't have to buy
zero eddies.
Nice.
And zero humanity loss.
A newborn babe, as it were.
Yes, and with it you get a Neuralink. You get, with slots for putting in more Neuralware, you get the Holophone. You get the Chiron. You get Chipjacks, 2 of them. It's pretty cool. It does the things you see in 2077 where, it translates things on screen and it labels things as you look at them. All that's happening in world. So it reads both databases that are plugged into it as well as thoughts from your brain, so that if you look at a bag of chips, it'll label the bag of chips because you know what the bag of chips are. And then there's new things. The drugs that David and Maine take in edgerunners are in there. There's rules for that. And like I said, that's part of the rules for humanity loss and humanity gain, which are now in there. I won't go too far, but there's a whole new thing. The humanity loss and humanity gain rules add a lot of granularity to the game, but also more record keeping. So it's a question as to whether you want to include them or not.
Right.
And the jacket is a cool adventure, 40 pages long.
Yeah, that
runs.
That's solid.
I will say, technically speaking, it's more like 38 because there's a couple pages of GM advice. But it's pretty close. And then there's stat blocks that go in there as well that technically break it down. And it comes with maps, all the maps. So the Jumpstart Kit maps, I will admit, were maps we thought looked good, but they weren't necessarily for the missions that came in it. For example, there's no map of the apartment in the Jumpstart Kit.
Okay.
Here, all the maps work for the jacket. There's also a 11x17 map of Night City. It is gorgeous. You're going to want to frame it and put it on your wall.
I'll put it right next to the 2020 map.
Damn it! Now I gotta go.
It's not. It's not as big. It's only 11x17. It's not as big as the 2020 map that came in the Night City book, unfortunately. But it's still pretty. Yeah, framing that thing would cost you a couple $100 to put it in a nice frame. And then there's the dice. There's the 2d10s and the 4d6s. They're done. They're a lot like the Cyberpunk dice we've released in the past, but they're done in the Edgerunners colors and with the ER symbol that's on the back of David's jacket at the top of the highest number.
Very cool.
There's a whole sheet of standees. All the pre-generated characters have a standee, and all the enemies are represented by tokens, and several of your allies. They're represented by round tokens you can put down on your maps. And the nice thing about tokens is because we can do we numbered them 1 to blah blah blah. So for example, there might be enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 3, and then if you flip them over, there's enemy 4, enemy 5, enemy 6, so that they have use beyond. Even though you may never use more than 4 enemies of a certain type in this adventure, I'll have more use for if you want to do a horde mode later on. And then there are...
it's RPGs. They never run out of usefulness.
Yep. And then there are 7 pre-generated character sheets, and they are folios. They're 11x17s folded in half. You've got your vital information on the front, and expanded information on cyberware, weapons, and gear on the inside. And then on the back of every character folio is a reference sheet for players with rules breakdowns, useful, helpful charts that sort of like a tiny mini GM screen for each player. That's all in the box. Obviously, in the digital version, you don't get the dice. You do get the standees, both as a printable sheet, as well as individual graphics. You can pull JPEGs. You can pull into your VTT, and yeah, and the maps we both include as a full PDF and as individual JPEGs you can pull in your VTT.
Nice.
The digital version is
that's nice. That is a nice bonus right there.
So,
yeah. Also, I'm sorry. One more thing is at the very last minute, as I was doing layout for this, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice? I have a couple of pages in the rule book that, technically speaking, I was out of rules. It's like, what if I took all the weapons and I put them on cards that you can, photocopy and cut out and hand to people? Had I thought of this a year ago, they would be in the box as cards. But I couldn't. At this point, there wasn't enough time to get them, and it would have changed the price. It would have bumped the price up $5 on the box.
Right.
Those cards are in the digital version as individual JPEGs.
Are you looking to produce them as like a either a $5 or $10 product that our Tessarian would do, similar to the Netrunner cards?
We might. Down the line, we'll have to see first. One of the things I might do is I may throw them up. Breakthrough RPG has a print-on-demand card service, and I might throw them up on that. We're still weighing doing the cost analysis, etc., making sure. But given the amount, it's a question of whether a Jumpstart kit will by itself sell accessories.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a mission kit, right? Which is a box set, which is an expansion. Yeah. One other suggestion I had, and of course it's free of charge, is, you have the various and I'm pulling from other game systems that have done similar things, and having a GM screen, referee screen, dedicated towards that specific product, right? I know with Call of Cthulhu, there was the Mask of Nyarlathotep that came with a GM screen, and I know D&D has done many various D&D screens or GM screens based on the various products they do. But not sure if you guys were thinking of like creating your own 2070, edgerunner/2077 GM screen.
Not for this product because it's a starter box.
Right.
And you don't tend to get those. And also because we put that kind of information on the back of every character sheet as well as on the back of one of the rule books. So the information is relatively handy and available. And also the standard GM screen will work for most of it. That hasn't changed. Right. And so now for a future product, that's a possibility. For something a little more comprehensive and full rules, we might do it for that.
Yeah. Just giving you a suggestion. Again, free of charge.
Absolutely.
I'm in that DM, man.
The one thing to remember is our player base is like 1/100th of D&Ds.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I know that full well.
Yeah, they're the mountain. They are the overlords of the RPG industry.
But I know, and I know Call of Cthulhu is probably 20 times your player base, but I know other systems have done that.
I don't know about that. But yeah. But if we ever get to this is where it's like what you're talking about is a campaign box, and this is not a campaign box.
Got it. Okay. Sounds. I mean, I've already done my pre-order, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will put mine in tonight. I was waffling on it. Like, I'll wait till it gets released. No, I need it now.
I mean,
I need to be sure it's coming and comes directly to me.
I don't believe it is going to run out. I mean, I can't predict it, but I don't believe we're going to run out of copies before.
I live in Northwest Arkansas.
I mean,
trying to find stuff in stores is not the easiest.
I mean, but even if you wait until the first, which is when the orders go live, technically speaking, the non pre-orders go live, and we will start shipping it on the 24th because our warehouse guys get the weekend off. You will probably still be able to get a copy.
Are you telling us dates now? 24th?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh no, Rob's gonna kill me.
I knew what I was about to say. I knew if we
No.
worked on you guys would slip and provide information.
At some point, we'll get a Tom Holland in here and they'll let something go.
However,
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
exactly. So no, everyone who's listening to this,
our lips are sealed.
you know,
It's a secret.
it's a secret. Do not tell
Secret.
anybody else. This is hearsay, rumors,
Hey,
fake
internet.
news, propaganda.
It's AI generated. We
Yeah,
didn't know.
exactly.
I'm not real. This entire conversation has been with GPT. Programmed my voice in. It's like Scarlett Johansson.
So now that we're kind of winding down, we know. I mean, you've said this already. Forlorn Hope is coming out
Yes.
within the near future. Is there any other projects you'd like to mention, or because I know there was always the Rust book that was kind of floated as an idea. I know High Riders was another idea that kind of was like on the horizon. But is there any other future projects that are still kind of that you can say that we're thinking about, we're not sure, we
Any
might be
glimpse of the
developing
future
it?
at all?
Yeah, that's where I'm
Come
getting
to our
at.
website once a month. You'll find some free DLC. It's really cool. And other than that, come to Gen Con and find out.
Oh, jeez.
Come to our seminar at Gen Con and we'll talk about it there.
Oh man, you
Oh,
know,
you're dirty. Dirty.
I can only do Gen Con every other
Someday.
year.
Someday I'll make it
Well-
to Gen Con.
Rob will share that information afterwards. But yeah, we hold off. Gen Con's our big announcement time. I can't talk about anything other than Forlorn Hope. And
That makes
we have
perfect
that deal for everyone. Interface Red 4. I'm hoping to have out by the end of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Because 3 just came
Well, that
out
makes-
back in February, March.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, 4 will contain all the. 4 will catch us up to because the first 1.5, the first 2, weren't quite what it's evolved to be, which is a yearbook of DLCs. So 4 will catch us up to most of the DLC from last year,
Okay.
Okay.
and then hopefully we will get better. And it'll be basically it's when we have the time. That's an ancillary product. So, but yes, we'll hopefully have that out by the end of the year. We know we have most of what we need for it. It's just putting it together.
Okay.
You mentioned solo play a while ago.
It's something I'd love to do. It is not something I have any. I literally have no information about it other than gee, we really need to do it.
Right.
I mean, like some years ago, I want to say like a decade or so ago, maybe a little longer. I had the idea to do like a Tunnels and Trolls thing for Cyberpunk.
So you're talking about more of a sort of like the choose your own adventure kind of style.
Yeah, just
Yeah, so-
something. It was just something to run while you were like in downtime, basically, like
Yeah.
little side stories. In fact, that's what I was going to call it, the side
Yeah.
stories.
Solo play has gotten so much more complex and expansive than that. It's really interesting. There's a book, I can't remember the name, that's constantly in the top 10 over at Drive-Thru RPG that gives you a really good idea. Solo play does so much more than just choose your own adventures now. They're almost more like adventure paths than they are, do this, roll this, go to this page. It's amazing how it's evolved. That being said, endless quest, choose your own adventure style, lone wolf style solo play is also pretty damn cool.
Yeah, like I just like the idea of a very simple, just play on your own in the downtime in between sessions. That idea, like I obsessed with it for a while. It never went anywhere. I talked to Mike and he like directed me to talk to some other people, and the other people didn't seem interested. So I didn't pursue it any further.
Well, I think it's an expansion of like what Red did with the downtime, right, between games.
Yeah, and listen up, you primitive screwheads had like blue booking.
Yeah.
Yep. There's always been different ways to tackle between session blue booking and listing, and then we came out with a date path for February DLC a while back, which is sort of like a plot generator, or it's a little closer to what a lot of solo play is these days.
Right. Yeah, that actually was thinking, like, because when I saw it, I'm like, maybe I can add that to my site as like some type of program, but real world has just been making me neglect my site so much that I just need to really get back to it and just dive into it one of these days, I suppose. So with the DLCs, are you looking for contributors, or are you kind of like you want to do your own, and if you see something that you like, you'll tag that person? How would somebody who thinks they have like this great idea that they want to provide to RTG and kind of like take that first step into really getting, I wouldn't say necessarily fully published, but just stepping into the whole world of, well, not just recognized, but just getting their feet wet into the concept of game design and following that path, right?
So for now, there's no real direct route into writing for us. It literally comes down to we have writers. We've been doing this a few years now, so we have a nice pool of writers, and occasionally we pull in others whose work we see and we think is of good quality. We think can get the world and get the mechanics done. So the best I can say is, don't wait for us. I know we got a lot of people's like, how do I submit to you? And it's like, you don't submit to us. How do I get started? You don't submit. Most of the writers I know or designers I know start off making their own stuff and just putting it out there. Don't do our stuff. Do your stuff. And maybe something will come out of it. Maybe it won't. Network, talk to people, talk to other designers, get some experience, get some credits. Really get out there and just keep pursuing. And it's a combination of just keep doing it and doing it. That's what I did to start with. Is I put something out there, and then I started smaller companies and I worked my way up. And I know this sounds like I work hard and you'll get it. Promise that. I can't promise that, because the truth is there's not a lot of room, and I only need so many writers every year.
Right.
And I've got a stable, but I'm not going to necessarily turn down either. But get stuff out there, keep going, and you never know what's going to happen. If you're an artist, there's a specific place on our website where you can submit your portfolio, because artists are freaking hard to find.
Yeah, especially for genre, right? Because I'm sure fantasy art.
I mean, not just genre, but the art style itself, like has to be consistent with what you guys are doing, because that's been the major change I've seen with Red. Is the art is very consistent even across different artists.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah, the quality level definitely has to be up there.
Tell story in a way, but it's very much like that. Like there's consistency.
Winter Jakovich works really hard to try to make sure that our world feels like it's a consistent vision. That doesn't mean that every artist has to draw the same. For example, we have Storn Cook doing art now for us, and Storn's art style is a little bit more comic booky. But he is really good at details. And so it still feels like it's part of things. And we'll have everything from it feels like this feels like it's right out of the video game, because it's a good 3D model of a gun that's been, or what's called hard surfacing. And then some things that are more like this is an elaborate digitally painted thing. but she works really hard on that consistency and showing the world, so that it's not, this is a quick line drawing someone did in house because we needed a gun real quick, and then this over here is just elaborate drawing that one of the greatest artists in the industry did.
I mean, art is the very first thing I praise with you guys. Like, no matter what, like the art of Red is just phenomenal. Like, it's some of the best in the industry.
We are fortunate to have an amazing art director, and that really makes a difference. Is having a professional in charge of just that, and not having their attention divided by that, and then the layout and the writing and the design. Because back in the day, a lot of it was whoever was available or whoever was the editor in charge.
I mean, we've talked to many of those people who are like, who had the hat of art layout. Also, they were an artist and a writer on the same book.
Yeah, and there's still. I mean, I do layout, I do editing, I do writing, I do line management, but really an art director, and now our art director is working across three different lines of the three different lines between this and Shadow Scar and the upcoming Fossilized Violence work that James Hutt is doing.
Fossilized Violence is the dinosaur game?
That's the dinosaur game.
Got it.
That James will be talking about at Gen Con. Also, if you have here's another thing. If you have a game that you want to make that is mostly done and you're looking for a publisher, come to Gen Con and talk to James. Because James is looking for those games for our 5x Infinity line.
That's going to be important for people to know right there. Like, there are lots of people out there who've been working on games for years and just don't know how to get into the door per se without like just self-publishing and like feeling really fly by night.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the purpose of 5x Infinity is to get those kind of games and give them a chance with a robust distribution network and our name behind it to help convince retailers to pick it up and carry it in their store.
Nice.
That's very awesome. That's a good program. I can't support that enough.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're at time. So I'm sure you need to... What's that?
Just about. It's been a long day. I'd like to have a snack, sit down.
I know you're East Coast with me, and it's already 9:30. So
Play some Fallout 4.
Exactly. So
the remastered Fallout 4 is a gorgeous thing indeed.
It is a fun game. I'm in Cambridge at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, fairly early on.
I just eventually I just got lost in building to the point that like on the older systems my game wouldn't even load anymore. I was building so much.
I feel you.
Okay, so thank you, Jay, for stopping by and giving us some download on the mission kit, as well as other topics that, I don't. We are ones who like to ramble at times, but do appreciate your time and taking the time out for hanging out with us.
Absolutely, it's always fun to be here, man.
All right, so
it is always a pleasure to have you. You are welcome at any time. And yeah, it's been very good talking to you.
Maybe we'll talk again with the Forlorn Hope to coincide with the Forlorn Dopes.
Yeah, that would be cool. That one we should do after you get a chance to really dig into it and see what we've done with the Hope, because you remember the original.
Yes.
And so it'll be fun to talk about.
I mean, our show's named after it. That's how much we love it. So
exactly about what we did with the Hope.
And try to arrange Will Ross to join us too.
You're gonna love me too.
All right, man. I appreciate all the time. We're gonna do our closeout. So Thank you everyone for joining us on this night. There was a couple exclusives, couple leaked little bits provided by Jay. So be quiet about that. Enjoy what you have, and you can gloat about the knowledge you have over the people and be like, yeah, I knew that. Anyways, I'm Cybersmily. You can check out my site at cybersmily.net. I have a bunch of little utilities to help improve your gameplay for Cyberpunk Red as well as Cyberpunk 2020. I'm on various Discord servers, so if you do an at Cybersmily, more than likely you're going to be hitting me. So if you have any questions for me, I also hang out on the few Reddit threads for Cyberpunk Red as well as Cyberpunk 2020, so you can catch me there. Don't do any of the other mainstream social media just because I'm that weird. Derek?
I am Derek Bernier, aka Wisdom 000. I run Datafortress2020.com, the largest, most comprehensive Cyberpunk 2020 site online. You can find me on Facebook at the Cyberpunk 2020 groups and the Datafortress 2020 groups. You can find me at Reddit on basically any of the Cyberpunk related Reddits. I'm on most of the Discords, although I tend to lurk more there. By all means, please reach out to us. We love to hear your comments, criticisms, complaints, suggestions. Really, any thoughts about the show at all. Our guest tonight has been Jay Gray, line manager of R. Talsorian Games. We'd like to thank both him and R. Talsorian. We'd like to thank Rob Mulligan of Cybernation Uncensored for hosting us. And we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Stay safe, everybody.
Ta-ta for now.
Cybernation Uncensored.